Welcome, amigos, one more time to Expresión Latina. And as you know, we as Latinos, we like speaking about important topics that are trending right now in our community. And tonight we have a very special guest, Tony Vargas. And let me introduce also my friends and
Mario Sanchez,
commentators, Mario Sanchez and Juan Carlos Veloso, right? I have a problem always remembering the names, but it's not a big problem. So, Tony, how are things going for you? Let us know a little bit more about your campaign. How are things going?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. So my name is Tony Vargas. I am a candidate for the Nebraska legislature running to represent downtown and South Omaha. That's District 7. I'm first generation in this country, first generation Latino, first in my family to go to college, get my master's degree, and I'm really proud of that because it's shaped a lot of what I've been doing ever since, which is public service, making sure I'm advocating on behalf of other individuals, those less fortunate, that remind me of my family growing up. And I've been really fortunate to have the opportunity to do a lot of great things. I was a former public school teacher. Which I'm very, very proud of.
I know someone who's a teacher too, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I've won awards for my teaching. I've served on different committees at state level. I've been fortunate enough to be on the Omaha Public School Board for the last 3 years, representing downtown and South Omaha. Nearly 56,000 students, 90 schools and counting. And it's just been a pleasure. I've been really fortunate to do what I've been able to do this short amount of time.
Wonderful. Very good. Tony, it is too good to see a new face, a young face in politics. We are here because we like politics, we like education, we like health care and all of that. And one of the key points in your campaign is about developing leaders especially in the youth. Can you explain a little bit about what is your idea on that respect?
Yeah, one of the things I've learned a lot about on the school board is that our school system is creating our next generation of leaders. Yes. Every single time students are going into middle school, graduating from high school, going to college, they are setting they're the new generation. They're doing better for their family, and so making sure we're improving the system from when the kids are born all the way through when they graduate high school and go to college is really key. So this starts with early childhood education. This starts with community organization programs that are supporting youth in middle school and high school. This makes sure we're supporting our teachers to have the resources they need, making sure we have great mental health facilities and social workers to be able to support our families. And I believe that that's going to help make sure our youth are graduating and have the leadership skills and the confidence to be able to then do whatever they want after high school.
Because we know about the potential. We have seen the graduation rate being increased lately, and we are pleased about those numbers. There's great potential in there, especially in the Latino youth.
And it's personal for me because I have two older brothers, both found their way through education, but they struggled at times, and I learned by watching them. So being one of the only people in my family to actually graduate college, in my entire family tree to graduate college and get their master's degree, I want that to become more of the norm, not the exception. Too often we see our families and there's just one student that is becoming a business leader, becoming a doctor, becoming a lawyer, and I want it to become normal, where we're seeing more of our young Latino youth becoming civic leaders, running nonprofits, becoming CEOs, because it's not the norm yet, but it can be. Yeah,
absolutely.
Very good. Excellent. Tony Vargas, I have a question for you. Do you consider yourself a leader, and why?
That's a hard question. I think what I'm trying to do is redefine what leadership is. And the reason why I say that is because I've talked with, for example, about two weeks ago, I talked with a room full of young Latino juniors through a program that OPS does. It's called Grassroots Leadership Development Program. We identify young Latino leaders in their youth, in their junior year, sophomore year, and we provide them with exposure to community leaders, elected officials. We inform them about the process of the community and elected officials. And I spoke to them, and I spoke really honestly. And what I was realizing is by speaking to them about my background and my story and why I'm running and the things I want to be able to do with the community to help the community, the kids, the students told me how happy they were because they saw somebody that looked like them telling them that it's possible and that I was an example of what it could be.
Yeah, that's what we've been trying to do before. That shows that you are a leader. The reason why you're running right now for office, it also shows you have a leadership skills there.
Yeah.
So, and if you're leading other children, like you just said, that's even fantastic. I think you're going to do a really, as a matter of fact, it's only the first person that has run for office from our community, right? Right? So it is amazing. This is the first one, yeah.
Yeah, and then you know, I think it's, one thing I told the kids is, you can't wait for somebody to ask you to do something. If you wait, it's never going to happen.
That's right.
If you look at the statistics of the number of Latinos in college across the country, we're still well below 10%. If you look at the number of people with master's degrees, the number of Latinos that are doctors, that are lawyers, it's still in small numbers. So we can't wait to ask for somebody to ask us to do these things. Sometimes we have to go out and do them ourselves. And that was one big thing I did is I engaged with people in the community, put myself out there, and what I realized is people were really welcoming to the idea of we need more Latino representation in politics because you know, currently, if we were expecting our state to have the same representation in the legislature of our population, 10% of Nebraska is Latino. We would expect at least 10% of our legislators to be Latino. And it's not there yet.
Okay. I know the campaign has been a little bit long when it comes to work, right? What does Tony Vargas need when it comes to hands-on? I know that you work with a lot of youth and you have a lot of people out here in South Omaha helping out, and not only South O, but in other parts where you've been campaigning. What does Tony need to become successful when it comes to the end of this race?
Besides money, obviously.
Of course, besides money.
You know, we have about 7 days left, and
He needs money though.
I would say there's three things that come to mind. The first is making sure people know that we're running a positive campaign. This is very important because people knowing what we're trying to do and actually what the issues are and realizing that this isn't just about politics. I know sometimes you talk about politics on the show. To me, this is politics, but through civic engagement, which is one key thing I want to make sure I tell people I need. The other thing is I need people. Campaigns are run by people. Elected officials, we have volunteers. You know, elected officials are, you know, candidates can't do everything on their own. And they're only as strong as the people around them. And people that know them, people who know things they've done. And I've been fortunate enough to have 100 plus volunteers in my campaign. But believe it or not, every single person that's able to knock on a door, have a meaningful conversation with somebody.
I hope you're listening tonight and that you're going to take action and that you're going to call this guy and say, hey, I want to volunteer with you because I'm really committed to helping the Latino community here in Omaha, and not only the Latino community. We are here to serve the community, and Tony is a good example of that. So please call, and I hope there is a phone number. At least we can.
You can call my home phone, which is 402-346-9206.
Please call and find out.
Yes.
One more time.
402-346-9206.
Please call.
Okay.
I know that it's important that we get people to help out, and certainly.
At the same time, I'd like to maybe perhaps add something else. We need to thank the Restaurante El Dorado por el apoyo que nos está dando. Gracias a Restaurante El Apoyo podemos hoy podemos tener un show político a beneficio de nuestra gente latina con un gran líder, joven, nuevo, Tony Vargas. Así que ustedes tienen que fijarse, este es el futuro. Él es el comienzo de lo que va a suceder aquí en Nebraska, de que algún día vamos a tener inclusive un gobernador si es posible. Pero eso lo tenemos que pensar. Hi.
I do have one more short question, Tony. You just got married not very long ago, right?
I did.
Now, you have been in the school board. What made you make a decision, I am going to run for legislature? What motivates you to do that? What goal do you want to accomplish by doing this?
So on the school board, so one, I did get married. My wife, Lauren, she is my best friend, and she's fantastic, and she understands why we're doing this. I was very fortunate being on the school board the last 3 years, and I learned a lot. And what I learned is that when many elected officials, community leaders, and citizens can come together, we can actually do a lot of amazing things. So we've been able to improve our school system over the last 3 years. We've improved graduation rates. We've also provided more support to teachers. We've also increased salaries to teachers. And these things are to try to get to more kids graduating, which is also more Latino kids graduating and going on to college and having great careers. And I saw this, and I realized that there's even more that we need to do. Education is important, but I was seeing healthcare, being an issue with some of the families. Many people were uninsured, seeing people were unemployed, underemployed, seeing many people didn't have faith in the government system. They didn't know how to call a city council person or how to call their senator because they have their own fears and they just don't feel like they're accessible at times. And I realized that a lot of that's outside the school board. And so running for the Nebraska legislature to pass laws to help in those areas, to help families, help individuals that are working, that's what I want to do.
We're glad you're running.
Basically, you're running to serve District 7.
Yes.
Not only Hispanics or Latino, but everybody.
Everybody, yes.
Right?
And
that's the main thing that I think you've been saying
Yes.
before, and that's very, very good. I think you should start working with everybody and everybody to get something done in this District 7.
And this district is probably one of the most diverse districts in the state. It represents downtown and South Omaha. We have Fortune 500 companies, and then we have our smaller business districts in Vinton Street and 24th Street. We have diversity. We have African American, Latino. We have Italian, Czech, everything you can think of. And we also have a wide range in terms of income levels. We have,
Right.
yeah, and so having this diversity means, I think we need to say something that understands both sides, and I do, because I grew up, in a lower income household. My parents struggled, and they made their way, and I also recognize where I am right now as I have a college degree, but that doesn't mean anything unless I'm trying to help people, which is another reason why I'm running.
Very good. Any other question?
Man who is passionate to serving the community. That's important, and I really admire the fact that you have done a lot of work, because it's not easy when it comes to complete high school and then move on to college and then go ahead and get your master's, and that is really a good role model for our community, for our youth. And you have said it, education is important, right? And anything else that we need to add?
I have you to say it before, Tony. A lot of people in the community have seen how your wife is almost 50% of who you are.
Yes, she is.
It is amazing. You are blessed having your wife on your side, working in that way how she is doing. She is a great leader too, and we have to recognize that to your wife. Now, how is the campaign? How do you see the environment, the feeling? Share your experience, Tony, with us, with the community so far.
So I think this campaign has been life-changing. One, I've been able to do it with friends and family. I've been able to do it with my wife, Lauren. She's been fantastic. The most life-changing part of this is it's not just about getting people to vote. The end game should not just be making sure somebody votes, because that's not enough. The end game here is I want people to believe their vote matters and that the issues matter, and that they believe that their vote will actually contribute to a great leader. And that's different. If people are only coming and voting for this one election, that's not enough. And so what we've been doing is changing the way that we knock on people's doors and talk to people. We focus this campaign on building relationships with people, building relationships with around the issues, and making sure people know that we're accessible and we're being honest and transparent. And the community, both the Latino and non-Latino community, have been extremely open and welcoming. We've knocked on 26,000 doors at this point. 26,000 doors, my campaign. My wife and I, we've knocked on nearly half of those. And I can remember every conversation I've had with pretty much every single voter. And I'm fortunate enough that they tell me their honest truths. People tell me when they don't have health care needs, when their student doesn't get special education services at their school, or when this weekend somebody told me that they have cancer and they're really worried about being able to afford it. And people are sharing this with us. They're sharing with us because they believe that we're going to listen. And I want to change the way that elected officials do that. We should be listening more and build strong relationships with voters.
Let's talk about health care.
Yeah.
What would you like to do to improve the health of people in your district?
So currently, we have state Medicaid, which has been an issue coming up in the legislature the last several sessions. We've seen a lot of progress with this. We've seen state senators on both sides and both parties supporting expanding Medicaid. And for those that don't know, Medicaid being a program that's helping some of our neediest individuals get affordable health care at the state level. And expanding Medicaid is a conversation because when we were doing some research and statistics, and many different groups were doing this, we found that nearly 100,000 individuals across the state could be covered if we expanded Medicaid. And actually 5,000 of those people are in my district. That is a large percentage of my district. That's working parents, those are individuals that are trying to get by, and they fall in what we call this gap. They currently are considered not poor enough, so they don't qualify, but they're just right above this level. And so as a result, they're paying out of pocket a larger costs for health care, or they're not even getting health care altogether. They don't have any coverage, and they just hope, crossing their fingers, nothing happens to them and their family.
You're talking about 5,000 people in that.
5,000 people in our district right now that would be covered if we expanded Medicaid.
But I think they don't understand. Sometimes some people don't understand that Medicaid, what it does, not only provides health, but at the same time prevents
Yes.
Right.
complication. And it's this worse. If you become complicated with any kind of illness, diseases, you end up in the hospital or ER, you're talking about $10,000, $15,000, maybe more. So one way to save money is actually helping those people to prevent diseases.
And the preventative part exists with not only just talking about mental health. You know, mental health in our state is actually in disarray. We need to continue to support our mental health system, and then at the state level, there's more we can do. But very simply, by expanding Medicaid, we are providing access to kids that are facing trauma and stress in the households to access mental health. Parents that, because of the ills of poverty, because of underemployment or unemployment, are able to actually access behavioral health centers and services. And that can only happen preventatively if we expand something like this.
Pretty good.
Wow.
Excellent.
Excellent.
The biggest segment of people voting now is in the millennium group. How are we doing with millennials, Tony, here in Omaha, in your district?
So what as somebody that is trying to very much understand and motivate millennials to come out and vote, I think there's not one thing. If it was one thing, we would have figured it out. I think it's a multitude of things. I think millennials are looking for information. They don't want you to sugarcoat things or politicize things. They want honest, stances on things.
And the why.
Yeah, and the why. They also want to understand how somebody's character, how you're going to work with other people, because I think we see that no person can do anything on their own. That's just not how things work nowadays, especially elected officials. And then I also think that they want to see people that are open-minded, willing to listen and learn, because if we have elected officials that are stagnant, unable to, be educated on issues, unable to talk to people, we're never going to get anywhere. And I think that we sometimes see that in some of the rhetoric in politics where it's an either or. And I think it's a continuum. And so we've been proud, we've done that in the campaign. In the primary, which was in May 10th, I won the election in May with nearly 50% of the vote, about 47%, and we nearly quadrupled the millennial vote.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good.
In addition to tripling the Latino vote.
Interesting. Very good job.
What has been the biggest challenge that you have faced in this campaign?
Good
so far?
question. Yeah.
Time.
We have
You are 24 hours working.
It is, and I tell people it's an interesting challenge, and this is the reason why. When I go to a house, and if I'm only trying to get somebody's vote, I can just leave something in their door, or I can maybe hope they look at it, or maybe I talk to them and say, hey, vote for me, and that conversation can really be 30 seconds to a minute, and I can leave. That doesn't sit well with me. And I think that's the normal way of running campaigns. And this is a local campaign. That's a very normal way. But I don't think it does service to people. The way that I've been running my campaign is I'm knocking on somebody's door and I'm trying to educate them on actually what I do. We talk about what the legislature does, how I'm one of 49 people that would represent different areas and I have a voting power. I also educate people on how to vote. We talk to people about what to expect, how to do early voting by mail, how to actually vote on the day of the election, what you do and do not do, and what they can and cannot ask you, so you know your rights. And as a result, you can imagine this takes a lot longer, but it's also the right thing to do. People deserve to know exactly what their rights are, what the issues are, what I'm actually campaigning for. And my only data point is we did that in the primary, and as a result, we had record turnout. 40% more people voted in the primary in this district than had in 2008, 2012.
Even 2012?
Yes, we had 30 to 40% more people vote in this district. In addition, nearly 1,000 of those people didn't vote for president. They left president blank. One of the only things they voted for was my campaign, or this office, this race. And I think that's because we started with real conversations with people at the doors, educating them and making sure that their vote matters.
I have a question for you. Let's talk about jobs.
Yeah.
How can you help get more jobs in this part of the country, part of the state?
So there's different things we can do. One is, so on the Omaha Public School Board, we passed the bond. What we did is we actually wrote language and put it out to the voters to potentially pass a bond. And we do that specifically so that individuals have say. So the bond passed unanimously, 60-40%, and it was to improve Omaha Public Schools. Nearly $500 million, $421 million. That money is then used to then build and renovate, improve schools so kids are learning in safe environments. Because we were able to do that, we also allocated a certain percentage, a goal of that funds going to targeting small and disadvantaged businesses in our neighborhoods. We want to do that because it's providing resources and funds so that there's work being had for local contractors, local laborers, and that's providing jobs right back into the community. We did that in OPS. At the state level, what I want to do is continue to work with our Omaha Chamber, our state chambers, to continue to expand on certain programs where we've had some success for small, medium-sized businesses, where we have certain tax credits we provided, where we're also providing training and support to small businesses so that they can grow. The biggest barrier is not that small businesses start, it's that they can't grow, right? And want to remove barriers that are hindering their ability to grow, and make sure that we're also providing some adequate education and training so that, and this is what we saw with contractors, making sure people understand bonding, maybe people understand how to put proposals together. Believe it or not, those are real barriers that are facing some of our small businesses. To be able to go to capacity requires a certain level of skill and knowledge, and I think we can do that at the state level.
I think we have about 6 minutes, I believe. And let me ask you one more question I think is important for you to answer. In education, we have a teacher here that I'm sure that he can answer more questions than I do. In education, if you have to choose one thing and only one thing that can improve, that you can help improve education in Nebraska.
Ooh, you're making it one thing. I might say two. I'm going to say one.
Okay, two.
I'll give two.
All right.
The one first is early childhood.
Okay.
And when I talk about early childhood, I mean from when a child is born to when they enter pre-K.
Yeah.
And that time is the most important time in a child's life. And the reason why is because statistically what you see across the country is kids, by the time they're entering pre-K, are already behind when they come from low-income backgrounds or they're from Latino or African-American backgrounds, and that is a problem. So if we can make sure to address the gap early on, and this is not in just pre-K and kindergarten, this is also in child care services, this is in Head Start programs, this is also making sure that we're providing quality services to people. Like I say, there's two things, quality and access into early childhood, and we need to do both. We've had some strides in the legislature, but we need to continue to do more, and that's something I want to focus on. The other thing is continuing to work on the K through 20 system. Now that's why that's important is because too often we only focus on early childhood, and when kids get into school, they fall behind in middle school and in elementary school. So we need to continue to have communication with higher education on what are the skills needed for this new century for students that are in emerging businesses. We're seeing tech to be a really important industry right now, entrepreneurship being a really important industry, different trades being more of an emerging industry, and those areas we need to figure out if that's what we need from somebody graduating from school or graduating from a two-year college or coming out of high school. What do we then have to change from K through 12 to be able to get those skills and for every single child.
I doubted that another candidate is going to give that kind of answer, Tony Vargas. Before we finish, politics is a dirty field sometimes, and these last days, a lot of people receive a flyer negative about you. Can you explain and put the fact out there?
Well, the only thing I'll say is we've run a really positive campaign, and I really stand by that, which means I'm going to elevate myself. I'm going to elevate the policies I want to push through. I'm going to elevate my experience, my leadership, what I've done, and my plans for what I want to do. And I believe that the voters deserve that. I'm actually not going to spend any of my time or resources or anything talking about my opponent, because I don't think we need to be against each other in actually talking negatively about somebody else, but instead changing politics and changing the way we do things at the local level should be about elevating ourselves. And that's what I'm committed to doing and what we're going to do for the next 7 days.
En español, para nuestros amigos hispanos, ya it's almost time, right?
Sí, y gracias por su tiempo, porque quiero ser el senador para el sur y centro de Omaha. Y ahora yo manejo las escuelas públicas en Omaha, y ahora estoy postulando para ser senador, para representar este área también. Tenemos elecciones el 8 de noviembre, que ya viene, y si me puedes apoyar, me va a ayudar mucho, porque yo quiero hacer 3 cosas: mejorar el sistema de educación, también ayudar en los negocios en nuestra comunidad, y mejorar el sistema de salud médico, porque hay muchos que no tienen seguro que deben tener. Y sí, gracias por su tiempo, y gracias por hablar conmigo.
Me gustaría agregar algo más, de que no se olviden que tenemos un líder latino. Tony Vargas es un hombre joven, inteligente, posiblemente sea el primer líder que se está presentando al Senado aquí. Entonces tenemos que todos apoyar para que él llegue a esa meta, porque si él llega a esa meta, él va a dirigir al resto de la comunidad a seguir adelante.
Se van a abrir puertas
para otros, y no solamente eso, necesitamos tener una persona en el Senado, en Lincoln, para que pueda hacer decisiones por nosotros. No podemos esperar que otros decidan por nosotros, más bien nosotros tenemos que ser, o ayudarnos a nosotros mismos.
Así es.
Pues muchas gracias por acompañarnos, y bueno, pues esperamos que después de esta plática con Tony Vargas haya usted tenido la oportunidad de conocerlo un poquito mejor, y vaya a votar. Si usted puede votar, vaya a votar, y no deje de votar el día que tiene que ir a votar. Si tiene la boleta en la casa, búsquela y vote. Hay que hacerlo por correo, ¿verdad?
Si tienes un boleto, si aplicaste para votar por el correo y llegaron un boleto de tu casa, tienes que llenarlo, ponlo en la caja de las elecciones, no lo mandas porque no va a llegar al sitio. Tienes que ponerlo en la caja. Hay uno en la Biblioteca del Sur, en calle Q, y también que votas el martes 8 de noviembre. Y si no sabes a dónde está tu local para votar, puedes buscarlo online, o también me puedes llamar a mi número de mi casa, 402-346-9206, y yo te puedo decir a dónde tienes que votar ese día. Gracias.
Felicidades, Tony.
Felicidades.
Lo mejor, que te vaya muy bien. Es un orgullo de nuestra comunidad hispana tenerte.
Gracias.
Con eso nos despedimos.